Chris, does the fact William Nylander missed 3 games in this series due to a migraine issue and Austin Matthews missed 2 games and played Game 7 at less than 100% in any way soften the blow of this loss for the Leafs?
I don't think you can think that way if you're in the Leafs spot, and this is why. It's another thing that exposes what I think has become a challenge for this team, and that's having all that money tied up in 4 forwards. Of course, we've been over this topic again, but you can't count on 4 players, especially at the age these guys are getting to be healthy through an entire playoff run, let alone just one round. And I think that, putting that money in those players, as talented individually as they are, takes away from what you can do with other things on the roster. And so, when you get to this situation, obviously there's some bad luck. I mean, in Nylander and Matthews' case, these guys played an entire season. Matthews 81 games, Nylander 82, and then to have them miss multiple games each in the series is certainly not something you predict. But I think you have to predict in the playoffs that there are going to be injuries, that not everyone's going to be at 100%, that you're going to have to find your way through. And really, the Leafs' fundamental flaw has not changed. And so, yeah, it's bad timing, bad luck, but it's also part of the danger of how they're built.
Matthews declined to go into the health issue that was plaguing him late in this series. He said that will wait for another day. Who's going to take the most heat for this?
Mitch Marner, without question. I think, you've just seen him get 3 points in a 7-game series. That's his lowest total of any of the 8 playoff springs he's had in Toronto. Just 12 shots in the series on goal. Not enough of a factor in the games in a positive way on the ice, even for David Pasternak's overtime winning goal in Game 7. I'm not laying all that blame at his feet, but given what he means to the franchise, the fact he's up potentially for a contract extension as of July 1st, puts a scenario here where I think management has to figure out what they're doing with his future. And it just was a disappointing season for Mitch, getting injured in March with his high ankle sprain and then, not finishing on a high. I do think that he'll probably take the most targeted of the criticism, and we've seen that in playoffs past as well.
What sort of offseason are you expecting in Toronto?
All bets are off. It's tough to say as we're standing here, in the aftermath of this game, to say where it's going. But you have a new person in Keith Pelley at the top of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. You have another year gone of this core. Austin Matthews had a 69-goal season. William Nylander, just shy of 100 points in the regular season. These guys were at the peak of their powers throughout this year, and it's another year gone where it's not just that you didn't win the Stanley Cup. I mean, they didn't get anywhere close, right? I mean, this tournament's going to go on for another 6+ weeks, and the Leafs will be well into their offseason by the time, one of the remaining teams lifts the cup. And so, I do think that hard questions have to be asked. The future of Sheldon Keefe has to be clarified. I think the fact, I should say, that they came back in the series after being down 3-1 and looking so bleak will reflect well on the coach. I mean, that they clearly tightened up defensively in games 5, 6, and 7, all 2-1 games. And then, of course, Marner and Tavares each entering, summers where they can be extended. I mean, it feels like there's a lot in the air. In past years, remember, Brendan Shannon has come out 2 days after the season and said, we're keeping everything the way it is. I'm not sure that message is going to be, relayed here in the days ahead, and nor do I think it should.
On the Boston side, their superstar, David Pastrnak, comes through with the overtime winner. He was called out by his coach, Jim Montgomery, after Game 6, and he told his coach, if you were the player and I was the coach, I would say the same thing, and Pastrnak responded.